So quickly, let me touch on tax reform and the border adjustment tax. Basically, what House Republicans in Congress and the White House would like to do is a broad, comprehensive tax reform, including corporate tax reform. There's a plan in the House that would lower the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%, move to a worldwide tax approach that would make it easier for companies to repatriate overseas profits. So those are widely praised or in favor, supported by the business community. But then there's this other provision called the border adjustment tax, and that's very controversial, and a lot of businesses oppose it. And it's designed supposedly to increase manufacturing exports, and really it's going to help pay for the other tax cuts, because it's supposed to bring in about $1.2 trillion over a decade. So it would basically underwrite the tax cuts they're looking for in other areas, individual and corporate. And basically how it would work is, it's instead of taxing profits, it's kind of more of a cash flow approach. When you import something, you would get taxed at the new corporate tax rate of 20%, and you could not deduct, as you can now, any costs or expenses associated with that import. So your overseas factory costs, your ocean transportation, your customs fees or whatever, any of those costs you could not deduct. You would pay the 20% tax on that whole portion of the import transaction. So that would significantly raise tax liability on importers. And on the flip side, exporters would get a pass. They would not have to pay the tax. So, it's very, it's not an even approach to the way the tax is being handled. Retailers and oil companies would stand to lose the most. Some big companies like Boeing and GE favor it because they're net exporters on balance, but retailers could really be hurt, and they're fighting it tooth and nail. And they say, it would lead to consumer prices going up because they'd have to pass on the costs. And, the problem is lots of products, there's no import substitution potential. You can't find a lot of those products, like, let's say, bananas, for instance. We import bananas. You can't switch to a domestic banana. There is none. So that's one of the issues. There's also questions about whether it's legal under the World Trade Organization rules, which prohibit export subsidies and, call for equal treatment of or national treatment of taxes regardless of where products are produced. So I don't think right now it's hard to tell how it's going to go. There does not seem to be a whole lot of senators on board with that, and more House members seem to be splitting from the leadership on this proposal. So we'll have to see how, overall how tax reform gets done and whether the bat will be a part of it. But it's going to be a heavy lift for them. And then one last thing, a new Customs and Border Protection Commissioner, who's really not a new Customs and Border Protection Commissioner. Trump nominated Kevin McAleenan recently to be CBP commissioner, and he's actually the current commissioner, and he's the acting commissioner, excuse me. And it's kind of unprecedented to have a civil servant or career customs official be given a political appointment like that. But, the trade community seems pretty pleased with it. It provides a measure of continuity. He's well known. He's familiar with trade facilitation. He's worked closely with the Commercial Operations Advisory Committee, and he has a lot. And he previously worked in Office of Field Operations. So he's kind of one of these guys that supports the CBP approach to risk management and trade facilitation. So probably a lot better option than many others that were on the short list, at least from the trade community's perspective. So Adam, that's about all I've got.